Hi there, this is Diane, one of 5 awesome optimists. Happy Thursday and happy April Fool's Day. You know, I've been listening to my fellow optimists this week, and it seems as though life has taken its toll on at least 2 of them. And what's really fascinating is that, you know, adversity doesn't only hit, you know, people who are not optimistic. The rain falls on the just and the unjust. And being an optimistic person just allows you to see things a different way, and not that you're, you know, an idiot or whatever. But being April Fool's Day today, I want to tell you a little story about something that happened to me, not on April Fool's Day, but it certainly made me feel like a fool. I actually have, you know, many stories like this, but this was one in particular that was just, oh my gosh, I just couldn't believe it happened. I had recently moved back to California from Massachusetts, and in Massachusetts, the place that I lived in Massachusetts was a little town called Medway, and it was about halfway between, say, Boston and Providence, Rhode Island, like that, right in the middle. And it was very rural. My backyard abutted conservation land, what they call conservation, which had wetlands, and so it was woods as far as you could see. And we had you know, an acre of land, and it took us about 2 hours to mow the lawn. And so when we were moving back to California, where things are not as green and not as expansive, and the yards are just like little postage stamps in comparison, we had just gotten, instead of the ride-on mower, which we had, a brand new top-of-the-line cherry red mower from Sears, the one with the big wheel in the back and the little wheel in the front. It's a souped-up little lawnmower machine. If you know, if you can love your lawnmower, we loved it. And I think we'd used it a couple weeks or something. And I had, we had just designed a little nook to put a table in that was just a little corner in the kitchen. And so our garage was up because it had just been installed. And what was interesting about that, you know, I know I'm rambling, but I am getting to the point here. Living in Massachusetts, where there's snow a lot of the year, we got used to just pulling right into the garage and then closing it behind us for inclement weather. But even when it wasn't, we just got used to pulling right into the garage and closing it behind us. So the fact that our garage door was open was not normal. And so anyway, the garage door was up. My mother was over. We were having lunch or something, and I get this little knock at the door. And I opened the door, and there was this man there, and he had on a baseball cap and some sunglasses, and he was a Hispanic man, and he said, "Hi there, my name's Jesse." And I said hello, and he said, I was talking to, you know, I was married at the time, and he said, I was talking to whatever, and he said that I could borrow your lawnmower. And I said, I said in joke, and I'm like, oh yeah, right, just like that. And he goes, no, really. And he goes, I just moved in up the street too. And he kind of pointed up the street, and he said, if you don't believe me, you know, you can come and watch me. And I was like, how long can it take? 10 minutes? These yards are so teensy tiny. So I offered him if he need gas too. I said, do you need some gas? And he said, no, you know, I have gas. And I said, okay. So he walked out my street pushing my brand new lawnmower. Well, as he left, I sort of had this weird feeling in the pit of my stomach. And maybe some of you already can guess what happened. But I went back, and my mom's like, that was kind of weird. What was that? And I said, I don't know, some guy. He said his name was Jesse, and he was, you know, talked to my husband about borrowing the lawnmower. And so anyway, she goes, that doesn't sound right. And I said, I know, it's kind of weird. So I ran outside, and I couldn't see him anywhere. And then, you know, we thought, oh my gosh, I think he stole my lawnmower. So then, you know, we got in the car and we actually drove up the street, and I kept saying, no, I'm sure he's, you know, he is who he says he is, and he's one of my brand new neighbors or whatever. But I'm driving up and down this cul-de-sac and I can't see anybody outside mowing their lawn, because he was like, his lawn was up to here or whatever. So anyway, my heart started to sink, because I thought, you know, I was made a fool today. And as I thought about that too, I thought, you know, I was lucky that, you know, he didn't have a gun or a knife or something of that nature, and that all he got away with was my lawnmower. Now, the nature of my soul is that I would have rather had him just take it. My garage door was up, and I would have rather had just take it with my blessing. And I called one of my girlfriends who also lived back east, and back there nobody even locks their doors or whatever, and she said, you know what, Diane, I would have offered him my edger too. Anybody would have done, you know, the same as what you did. But I felt like a fool, you know, I really did feel like a fool. Well, I never did recover my lawnmower, and I was a little bit more cautious in the future. And as I reflected on that, I thought, you know, he made the choices that he did. It didn't reflect poorly on me that I was a trusting and giving person. He was the one who was in the wrong there by taking advantage of somebody who, I mean, and he wasn't just slightly, he was brazen about it. How he knew, you know, his name, I don't know. And then I started thinking, like, did he just drive by and see it, or had he seen it and had been casing the street for a few days? How did he know his name? Did he look in our mailbox? So there were all these questions I had unanswered. Well, they're still unanswered. I never got resolution. But fast forward a little while later, maybe a year later, and I'm watching an episode of Cops. And you know, I never watch TV. I don't even watch TV now, but for some reason this was on in my house, and I took interest, and I sat down and I'm watching it. And this episode of Cops was interesting because there was a guy who was off duty, and for some reason the cameras were going, and he said, this, you know, this seems a little weird. Well, he saw this guy near his neighborhood, and remind you, he was off duty, and he had some liquid draining from his car. It was like a station wagon. And so he goes up to the window. Excuse me, sir, you know, there's some liquid, you know, dripping out of your car. I think you better take a look at it. And the guy's all, oh, no, it's okay, it's okay. So, and he goes, no, seriously, you really need to take a look at it. I'm not sure what it is, but it could be gasoline or something. So, so then he insisted that this guy get out of his car and check on what was ever that was leaking from his car. They open up the back of his station wagon, and there's this tarp back there, and you know, they pull back this tarp, and there were like 6 lawnmowers in the back of this station wagon. And I'm watching it in total disbelief, because why does somebody have 6 lawnmowers? And the police officer, who is off duty, mind you, he looks at he goes, oh, it must be gasoline or something. And he's looking at these lawnmowers, and darned if he didn't discover that one of them was his. And the police officer, he said, that's my lawnmower. You know, what are you doing with my lawnmower? So anyway, he placed the guy under like a citizen's arrest. And I watched it, and I thought, I'm not the only one who's had their lawnmower stolen. This is crazy. This is so crazy. And even though it wasn't my lawnmower that got recovered, it was still satisfying to watch that somebody got it. Now, why people would go around stealing lawnmowers is beyond me. But for heaven's sakes, on this day of April Fools, please don't let someone make you into a fool. Be safe. Be fun. When you play your jokes on people, be playful and don't be dangerous, and certainly don't dupe somebody that you don't know or that you don't love. I have some funny stories of April Fool's Day in my time, and I would love to hear yours. I remember when my kids were little, I used to work in a bakery too, and I decorated a big sponge so it looked like a cake, and I'm like, happy spring. Anyway, and it was a cake. I mean, it wasn't a cake, it was a sponge, so they go to cut a piece of cake. And that was pretty funny. And I also remember, was it my mom or my sisters or somebody, when they made lunch for their kids, and they made a little sandwich, and then on the sandwich they put like a picture of ham and a picture of pickles and a picture of mayonnaise. Anyway, it was so funny because, you know, for one day of the year, your kids get a really, really funny memory. They may go hungry, but so what? They'll think it's so cool that, you know, they got a fun lunch for April Fool's Day. I'm not, you know, how it got started. Just enjoy the day. And I do hope that you enjoyed my little story, and I would love to hear your story. Thanks for watching. I'm Diane, one of 5 awesome optimists.